All right, we are live and I see the audience streaming in. We do have, 75 already. That's quite a few in a second. I'm just going to wait for a minute or two for the audience to stream in and then kickstart the session. In the meanwhile, those of you who are already in the room, who have already joined the session, why don't you post your current city into the chat box? So let us know which city you're dialing in from. Gives us a hint of where the audience is coming from. Okay, so I see Hardik from Ajmer. All right. Okay, I see someone from Mumbai. Okay, someone, Siddharth again from Mumbai. And all right. I got Yogesh from Surat. Okay. Ananya from Raipur. Kolkata, Arshdeep from Chakapatnam. Okay. Okay, Kanpur, Jaipur, Delhi, Raipur. Okay, so we are seeing audience, Faridabad. Okay, we're seeing audience coming in from all over the country. So very interesting over there. And great, I'm still going to wait for another 4 or 5 seconds for people to dial in. Usually connecting to Zoom takes that initial minute before everyone can get in. So I'm just going to wait for another few seconds before we kickstart. And I see Bhatinda, Akola, okay, all over, Ghaziabad as well. So yeah, all over the place. So great. So, and we are close to 300 people in the room already. So that's really exciting. There's a lot of interest in public policy. I'm realizing this today. We were initially skeptical, but seeing the audience interest, it is really exciting. So let me start off with the introductions. Let me do quick introductions now. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for dialing in on time. It's a pleasure to see all of you join this session and show your interest in public policy as a domain. Of course, in India, we need better policies, we need better implementation, and this is true across the world. So it's really great to see the audience interest in the policy domain. My name is Sanjay Dhingra. I'm one of the co-founders at Seed Global Education LLC. We are a US registered and an India registered company where we work with universities across the world, bringing unique and niche programs to your doorstep and making those programs accessible to you. So it's a pleasure for me to be hosting today's session and welcoming Christopher Jones, or CJ as we fondly call him, and Kirsten Valerie, who's again from the School of Public Policy at Pepperdine University. Pepperdine University is amongst the top universities in America. They're based in California, more specifically in Malibu, a beautiful location. So if you can see CJ's background, that's the Malibu coastline and beautiful background over there. So beautiful location as such. And they are amongst the top universities in the US. And School of Public Policy is amongst the niche schools at the university. And you're a really strong public policy program over there. So let me welcome CJ over here. Welcome CJ, welcome Kirsten. Thank you for joining us today and for taking out time to do this interaction with our audience.
Yes, good morning, and thank you, Sanjay, and thank you, Seed, for this opportunity to come to you. It is a pleasure. Welcome. Yes, as Sanjay said, my name is CJ Jones. I am our Director of Program Services and Admissions at the Pepperdine School of Public Policy. Again, we are located here in California in Malibu. We've got a beautiful location here just north of Los Angeles, so we're still close to Los Angeles, but again, located in beautiful Malibu. So again, really excited to join you and share more. Pepperdine, just as for some background, as a university, we are made up of 5 schools. So we have our main undergraduate Civic College, which is where our undergrad students go pursuing their bachelor's degrees. We have the School of Public Policy, our program, which offers a Master of Public Policy degree, an MPP. And so in the United States, you may have heard of the MPA, and then there's the MPP. So we are the MPP. We really are focusing on policy leadership, creating thoughtful policy leaders that go on to do great things in all different realms and walks of life. And so we'll talk more about that here in a second. Pepperdine does have 3 other graduate schools. We have the Education Psychology School, the Business School, Grazie Dio, and then our School of Law. And within our MPP program, we also offer joint degree programs. So for example, in the United States, it would normally take 3 years to get a JD, a Juris Doctor, if you're wanting to become an attorney, a lawyer. Our program is 2 years, but we have a joint degree program, an MPP JD, and students can accomplish that in 4 years. They save some money. They certainly save some time, a year off the joint schedule. And we have 2 other joint degree programs as well, one with our MPP MBA business school, and then one with another program at our School of Law, which is called the Master of Dispute Resolution. So that's a very popular field. And, you know, unfortunately, in some of our areas of politics, and there is more I guess partisan. There's and dispute resolutions are very popular as it brings groups together from opposing fields, opposing viewpoints, and trying to find consensus and to really move forward. So the MPP MDR is one of our most popular joint degree programs as students look to get their policy degree and become policy practitioners once they graduate, but also have the skill set that's required to dispute, or to mediate, I should say, disputes, and ultimately come to positive resolutions that allow our students to move forward. So that's kind of a background of Pepperdine and the School of Public Policy. Again, we're really excited to welcome you this morning. And so, you know, I just want to start off with a kind of a foundational, what is public policy, right? I think that's a question that our professors will ask our students in the fall every year. And it's a good idea to have an understanding of what we think and what public policy really is, right? And so public policy is an attempt by an organization, whether it's the government, a nonprofit, the private sector, to address a public issue. The government or the organization, it may be a city, a state, a federal agency here in the United States. It could be a private organization that's helping to affect change in its community, or at the national level, or at a local level, and develop policy in terms of whether it's laws, regulations, decisions, actions, other ideas that are policies, right, to address a specific issue or a set of issues. And numerous issues can be addressed by public policy. When it really come down to think about it, so many areas of your life, of our lives, are affected by public policy. It could be crime, it could be education, foreign policy, health, social welfare. When it comes right down to it, you know, I'm sure in the United States, we're hearing a lot about global supply chain issues. That's an area of public policy. How do you improve upon global supply chain issues in a time of a pandemic when there might be less workers, et cetera, et cetera? And, you know, everything that you do involves in some ways a public policy, whether it's the roads that you travel on, and tax policy and infrastructure policy. It's the clothes that you wear, the food that you buy, food policy. All of these different areas affect our lives, when we really stop and think about it. And so there are just so many opportunities within the public policy sphere for students to find employment and to find passions on what you want to do to either improve your community, or, you know, in the private sector, across sectors. One thing that you'll learn a lot about our Master of Public Policy program, our MPP program, is that we're a program that creates what we call cross-sector leaders, cross-sector leadership, meaning, again, it's not just the government. You know, about a third of our students do go into the government work as far as the public sector, but another third of our students go into the private sector, and another third go into the nonprofit sector. And so there are opportunities for you in a lot of different areas with regarding having an impact on policy and your community, and making the world a better place. You know, a public policy education, it can prepare you for professions in law, in government, in social services, in healthcare, and literally dozens of other fields, and just really whatever it is that your desires are and what your passions are regarding why you're interested in Pepperdine and public policy, and whether it's, again, government work or private sector work or nonprofit work. And so, you know, one of the things that we like to say here at Pepperdine is that we're uniquely preparing our students, our student leaders, also for an ethical, moral, again, leadership opportunities. I spoke earlier in the United States, the two popular programs within public policy are, you hear a lot about an MPA, a Master of Public Administration, and then the MPP, our degree. And the reason why we offer an MPP and why our founders and our curriculum is all about an MPP is because, and I don't want to speak pejoratively, but an MPA and a Master of Public Administration, yes, it teaches you how to administer a program, right? To be a bureaucrat, quote unquote. And the world needs these types of people that are on the ground, involved at that level of policy. But our MPP program is creating leaders, is creating you to think outside the box and to really be the leader in the room. So what does that mean for all practical intents and purposes? That you're there at the beginning. You're the one that's identifying the problem. You're the challenge or the opportunity. You're the one that's helping design, bringing in stakeholders, talking to communities and to the those that will be affected by your public policy idea or opportunity to change. And so you're there from the very beginning. You're there as it's designed. You're bringing in the stakeholders. You're talking to the community members, and then you're implementing that policy, right? You're at the forefront of it. So you're involved in all areas and all walks of life, not just implementing it, but really analyzing it, assessing it, and again, not just in government, but private and public sectors as well. So the Pepperdine School of Public Policy, we're a top 10 ranked policy program in the West by US News and World Report. Again, we prepare moral leaders who focus on the impact of policy decisions. And we do this by having one of the most unique policy graduate programs in the country. We emphasize political philosophy, comparative history, ethics, which enables students to understand the ideological foundation of policy stakeholders, to think historically, and to reflect on the relationship between society and policy and government and private sector and all of these problems. Melding free market empirical analysis with qualitative reasoning develops you as a uniquely capable leader in a very classic liberal arts setting. And when I say that, that means our curriculum is not only focusing on the quantitative analysis of public policy. So yes, you're going to be taking courses in economics and statistics and research methods and econometrics. But at the same time, you're also taking what we call the liberal arts side of the program to develop analytical skills, critical thinking, and leadership so that you can be successful in your career. So you're taking those political philosophy courses that are part of our core curriculum that every student takes to get a foundational knowledge to be successful in their policy career. Our program, we host co-curricular policy forums. There are different conferences, opportunities for students to interact with our, not only our faculty, but other academics in the field, policy practitioners. And one focus of ours here at the School of Public Policy is technology and civic engagement. And so that means that students can work with our Davenport Institute of Public Engagement and Civic Leadership on training local government officials and incorporating technology in government and preparing our students for those types of careers, because now more than ever, it's important to have the skills and the know-how to communicate with the constituencies that you're charged with helping, with assisting. And so with all that said, this is what makes our policy program truly unique and stick out here in California. We have alumni across the globe, internationally, domestically, certainly, and it gives students the opportunities to work not only in Los Angeles or in California, but in Washington, D.C., and our nation's capital, for those that are interested in federal policy or government work at the federal level. Certainly in the private sector, there are opportunities for you and for our students throughout the world. We've had students that have done their internships internationally, which has allowed them to given themselves opportunity to see if that working internationally, at least from our perspective, is something that will work for them. So, students do internships in China and Israel, in Europe, and Asia, all across Asia. And so that gives students that, that opportunity if they do want to go to the Foreign Service, for example, or if they want to work for an international corporation that does that is on the Pan-Pacific, and so they're in Asia, they're in the United States. There's just a lot of different opportunities that are available to students in that field. And so some of our students, and so how do they accomplish that? How do they get to where they're going? So our program offers 5 specializations that help prepare you for your career goals and for your employment ahead. So we have economic policy. Applied economic policy is one of our specializations. And really, to take a step back, what a specialization is an opportunity for you to focus your career goals, your career track on one of 5 specializations. Students can actually have 2 specializations as well if they're in good academic standing. And so of those 5, the first one, as I mentioned, is applied economic policy. This is for our students that quantitatively are just numbers just move in your head the right way, and you thrive on data analysis, on research. You may go into a PhD program once you graduate. So as a professional school and a professional program, our MPP is what we call a terminal degree here in the United States, meaning you can become a policy practitioner with an MPP. There isn't really a need for a PhD, except if you are thinking that you're going to go into research, into academia, if you're going to teach, if you're going to truly focus on data analysis, that PhD might be something that you pursue. About 10% of our students do go on to pursue a PhD program post graduation here at the School of Public Policy. So it's not as large as those that go into the private sector, public sector, or government sector. But at the same time, there is that percentage of students that do want to go into research, that do want to go into academia and teach. And so that PhD is important. So a lot of them do choose that economic policy track as far as their specialization tracks. But we also have American policy and politics. And so if you're interested in working in the United States or having a greater understanding of excuse me, how the United States' federal government functions and what federalism is and its relationship with the states, and not just in America, right? There are in a lot of different ways, most of the world has some degree of federalism, where they have a national government that works with local, regional, what we call states, provinces, governments to affect change. And so that relationship is explored. And then we have international relations and national security, one of our most popular specializations for the last several years. We live in a global community. And so international relations, being able to, and that doesn't just mean working for a state or, interactions between 2 states on the international stage. That could mean foreign service, but it could also mean working for an NGO. It could mean working for an international company and just wanting to know more about certain aspects of and certain regions. And so our students can explore policy challenges and opportunities and region-specific studies within the international relations and national security specialization track. So Latin America, or U.S. China, U.S. Brazil, U.S. Russia, U.S. India, these various relations. And so so that's been a very popular specialization for our students, and it really helps them to understand what it means to be an actor on the global stage. And then our newest specialization is public policy and dispute resolution. Again, as I mentioned earlier, polarization and bringing together stakeholders is now more important than ever with what's just happening in the world today, speaking realistically. And so public policy and dispute resolution does allow for you to learn how to bring together stakeholders and to really affect change and bring together people to help solve these policy challenges, right? Because sometimes you need to be persuasive in your arguments and have that skill set as well, and knowing how to interact with different stakeholders that want different things. And so again, that's our newest specialization, also very popular in students that are perhaps looking to pursue a legal career in some fashion, or truly understand that they're going into something that's maybe controversial is the wrong word, but that is a polarizing idea in your area or in the United States. etc. And then our last specialization, our fifth specialization, is state and local policy. And so this really focuses on the local level, right? So in the United States, that means at the state level, at the county, at the city level, working on stakeholders and communities, and really, that you're in the United States and most of the world, that's the first line of defense, so to speak, when it comes to whether you are working for a government official or you're working for a private corporation, and that you're that person that talks to the constituents, that is the front lines, dealing in a customer service almost capacity. And so focusing on that relationship and what does that mean, really to work at that local level, that granular level. And our Davenport Institute works very closely with our state and local students. The Davenport Institute for Public Engagement and Civic Leadership, as I mentioned earlier, they hire grad assistants to help them affect their change and train local leaders, and trying to bring in technology into the government and just in all areas of public policy. And so with those specializations, those are really the track to your professional and to your career goals. And so just as far as employment goes and organizations, maybe you want to work for a think tank, a researcher for a think tank, a bipartisan policy center. In the United States, we have the Hoover Institution up at Stanford, the Manhattan Institute, the Milken Institute. This is where our alumni have gone to as far as employment goes. In government organizations, you're looking at boards of supervisors here in the United States, city councils. We've have alumni have worked for the Department of Education in the state of New Mexico. And so if you're education policy and reform, which is very popular right now. As far as the private sector goes, we've had students that have gone on to work at Accenture and Anthem and Booz Allen Hamilton and Lionsgate. So you may not, again, you have to understand, really open up your mind to the fact that, yes, you can have a career as a government official, but there is also the private sector. There are a lot of different avenues that you can pursue that are outside of government work, whether it's the nonprofit or the private sector, the for-profit sector. And with those opportunities, liaisons, government liaisons, sometimes for these big companies. We have one recent alumni that is that works for a social media company, and so she is working. She's in DC now. She's based in Los Angeles, but doing great things and at a social media at another company, but within social media and some other aspects as well. So that's very important too. And as far as the nonprofit sector goes, some of our alumni and where we're working currently include the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, Intercollegiate Studies Institute, the RAND Corporation, if you've heard of the RAND Corporation before, various foundations and other institutes, and again, this is leadership in action, right, across the sectors, and really gives you an opportunity to see the different areas where our students are working. I mean, they are media image. I'm looking at some lists now. Media image public relations specialists, associates at Booz Allen Hamilton, managers at Cisco Systems, fundraising analyst at a Targeted Victory, director of operations and research at the Hoover Institution, presidents of think tanks, founders of education and charter schools here in the United States, and vice president of policy and programs at the Manhattan Institute, which is a think tank here in the United States. So state senators, again, education secretaries. Our specializations really do offer students, unimaginable career goals and opportunities. Some of the things that our students are interested, for example, this fall, our students are interested in educational policy, reforming federal government, the size and scope of it, education policy, religious freedom, environmental policy, nonprofit work, anti-human trafficking organizations. That's something that's been on the minds of our students over the last several years, trying to stop human trafficking and sex trafficking, health policy, agricultural policy. Again, these are all areas where you can affect real change, climate, immigration, foreign policy, international relations having an impact on refugees and asylum seekers, environmental justice, human rights, the fashion industry. Again, I mean, the clothes that you wear, these are all different areas of policy where you can find and explore your career goals. City and local government, blockchain policy. So that's, I'm sure that everyone has heard in the news lately, the rise of Bitcoin and the related cryptocurrencies that are becoming even more popular. And some governments have a hands-on approach, some governments have a hands-off approach. So our students are exploring that field and those studies as well. East Asian studies, relations. One student wants to study specifically Japanese relations. Behavioral economics is something that you could pursue. National security is another popular one. We talked a little bit about that with international relations, but for those of you that are interested in national security, and those related fields, we have our students here in the United States. They go into the intelligence services, the FBI, the CIA. So if that's something that interests you, being some sort of intelligence analyst or working for an intelligence agency, we have students that explore those ideas right now, and we're trying to get into the FBI internship programs that are being offered for next summer, our first years. Homelessness policy, housing policy, again, the global supply chain. One of our students is interested in this fall. So, and all very topical, very important aspects and just the differences, the wide range of differences that students are able to pursue with a career in public policy. And so it's an amazing degree. As far as our approach to students, we are very, again, we are a classic, what we call quote unquote liberal arts program. So we welcome students from all majors, all walks of life. We don't have a minimum GPA requirement because we want students to bring that perspective, a diversity of opinion, a diversity of thought, viewpoint diversity. And so we're really really want a diverse group of students. This past year's incoming first year class was our most diverse class ever. We were very proud of that fact. Whether that's first generation or non-US citizen, F1 visa students. And within our own school, we have a DC Summer Scholars Program that students can apply to preceding their first term of enrollment. That'll put you right in DC if that's something that you're interested in working at that level. As far as our degree program itself, 2-year program. Fall, spring, we require an internship for students to complete before they graduate. There's been a lot of flexibility because of COVID, and the internship is really where you're going to put your practical, is where all that practical work will come together for you. You learn it in the program, you find an internship. We do have opportunities for you to sharpen your resume, your interviewing skills, and for you, it is important that internship that you will secure is going to be your gateway in some ways to your career once you graduate, right? Some students will do their internship and say, wow, this is exactly what I want to do. They have a laser focus, and some students will do their internship and say, I might consider something else. And that's what it's for, is really to give you those practical skills and to give you an opportunity to work in the field. And so that is part of our program as well as our curriculum. Yeah, I think we also offer professional development opportunities at the school. We require it. So that's going to help you build your networking, build your network for networking, for you to find some of your own professional development. We offer a lot of opportunities at our program for you to earn that credit, but we encourage students to look externally, outside, develop your networks, what it is that you want to do, what your passions are. And so there's an opportunity for you to explore that. We talked about the specialization tracks. The joint degree programs are also very popular, especially if you're looking to work cross sector, and so maybe you do want to be more dialed in with the law, and so a joint degree program may work for you. We have our student organizations that help you explore these career opportunities. So whether it's specific policies or women in public policy, or ICMA, which is for state and local students, or the policy review, where you get to write editorials and content that's published and seen, clicked throughout the world. That is going to help you. We've got Mentor Collective at SPP that puts you in touch with our alumni, with those people that are in their careers, doing the good work, the hard work that it takes, and so that you can develop your own relationships with our alumni, and they can help you with career goals and opportunities, and just insights and wisdom and tidbits of knowledge, right? We talked about the Davenport Institute as well, and all the different opportunities for the MPP graduate. We are a small program, which means that small class sizes. So that means it's an opportunity for you to work with faculty directly. Our classes are taught and instructed by faculty directly, and they're small class sizes, no bigger than 20 students in each class. And so you got a real opportunity to have lots of touch points with faculty, and they want to take an interest in you and help you career-wise as well. And just some statistics, we're pretty evenly split this coming year: 51 female, 49% male. 20% of our students are non-US citizens, 50% are non-California domestic students, 36% come from minority underserved students, 10-to-1 faculty to student ratio as well. And so that is the School of Public Policy, and we are again so excited to have this opportunity to talk with you today, and share about some of the career opportunities that exist for students, what it means, how do we put our curriculum to career, as we call it, within our specialization tracks, and the possibilities for you as a graduate of our program once you complete the MPP program here at Pepperdine. So again, just want to thank you for your time this evening. And please, I will, let's see here. I know there's some Q&As and I've been talking a lot. I'm going to include my email address, and I'm sure that if you do have questions outside of this opportunity, you are more than willing to contact me, and I will turn it back over to Sanjay.
Thanks, CJ. That was a great overview, and we do have a number of questions that have come in from the audience. But before we get into those questions, and here you spoke about these, and I can see this on your website, you really have a very diverse set of organizations recruiting Pepperdine SPP students, the MPP students, the Masters in Public Policy students. So you got to research think tanks, some of the really cutting edge, really top ones in that. So Hoover Institution, Manhattan Institution, Milken Institution. These are great brand names in themselves. Then you got a lot of hiring happening at the government organizations. And did I get this correct? You also have a White House internship program. Is that correct?
Well, we don't have a formal program. What we do have is our students have been interns at the White House. Yes. So it's something that our career services office, and so we bring in opportunities, these employers, and we, for example, the PMF is the Presidential Management Fellowship Program, and so we offer info sessions and to help prepare you and give you the tools to apply for these positions. So we've had interns, we've had our students that have interned for the White House, for the Congress, so either the U.S. Senate or the U.S. House of Representatives, at various federal agencies, the Department of Defense, the Housing Office, the EPA. I mean, there are all those different federal agencies, the Commerce Department. And so that's why you can get really nuanced with your policies. A couple of our alumni several years ago were interns at one of the federal agencies. I believe it was the Commerce Department. And they ended up writing a paper or a public policy opinion paper that the agency ended up having them present on. And so lots of great opportunities for students. And yeah, quickly here, as I'm looking over at the Q&As, management backgrounds, for sure. We, as a classic liberal arts program, we don't have any prerequisites. Our core curriculum that I referenced earlier is going to prepare you for the essentials, the foundation. You have electives where you basically, those electives fill in your specialization tracks, and that's how you earn your specialization. And so there are 7 core classes that everybody takes, so that everybody has a foundational knowledge, both quantitatively and qualitatively, of public policy analysis. And then your electives, the 9 elective classes in our program, is where your specializations are earned and come through. And so, yes, we've got students that are classic political science, economic, degrees, BAs, undergraduate degrees. But then we have students that come in with health degrees because they're interested in food policy and food science, or business degrees because they're interested in more in the private sector, or global supply chain, or something like that. So, yes, certainly all of those are walks of life, no prerequisites. You'll learn what you need on the quant side within the core classes, and certainly in the qualitative classes as well. Scholarships, yes, and so yes, we have a very robust endowment for students. If you were here today, that gives you the opportunity to. Our first deadline is in January to qualify for at least 50% scholarship support from the School of Public Policy as far as tuition goes. So we want to make it affordable for you. We understand that's a big challenge, certainly as well. And so, yes, we have a robust scholarship. And the scholarship is available to students. There's not a separate application for it. You simply say yes that you want to be considered for scholarship on your application. And so we are mindful of that need. And certainly when you're applying for our program, via your resume, via your personal statement and your ethical moral dilemma essay, highlight your accomplishments, your achievements, any awards that you've received, any accolades, what you have done as an undergraduate. And that doesn't mean that you have to have saved the world or changed the world, but we do like to see that in action. The scholarship committee when they're evaluating a scholarship. So certainly encouraged by that. Yes, we do offer scholarship for our program. Again, for those of you that are presenting today, or here today, as I should say, we are making you eligible for at least 50% support if you apply by our first deadline, which is in January 15th. So you'd go to our website, publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu, for more details on that. And in fact, for students that apply by the first deadline in January, not for you, for SEED and for your participants, that was our way to encourage you to apply. But if you do apply by our first deadline in January and your application is complete, you'd even be eligible for potentially for a full tuition scholarship from the School of Public Policy as well. That's our first deadline in January. So check out our website for that detail. After completing the course, will we get a job or a work permit? Well, ultimately, as a student, it is on you to secure employment. Right now, we have a career office that prepares students for job interviews, for resume critiquing, for cover letter assistance, for mock interviewing, and again, as I said, we bring in employers. We have our Ask an Alum series that's headed by our career office that brings in our alumni that are working policy practitioners. We want to share with you all of that wisdom, all of that support that we can. Again, though, ultimately, as a student, it is your responsibility, just because you obviously in the real world, you have to interview and be hired for a job. But there are CPT, OPT opportunities available to F1 students that you can apply for. So that allows you to remain in the United States post-graduation if you do want to work. And so those are shared with you. And we have info sessions. We have an info session tomorrow for our current students for CPT and OPT, if you're familiar with those programs for internships, and then as well as post-graduation working in the United States. And so we do have that career office that supports you and is ready to assist every student as they search for whether it's an internship during the program or for its employment post-graduation. As far as work experience goes, no work experience is required. We have a fair amount of students that are green, quote unquote, meaning they come directly from undergrad. And so no, there's no work experience required. If you do have work experience, great, put that on your resume. That's part of your application, certainly. But at the same time, no, there is no requirement for work experience for our program. And the duration of the course is 20 months. So we are basically a 2-year program. That's fall, spring, your first year. The summer between your first year and the second year is traditionally when students do their internships, and why they do it over the summer is because that affords them the opportunity to travel anywhere they want to go. You can go back to your home country. You can, if you're an international student, you can go to DC, our nation's capital. You can go to the state capital in California or any state capital in the United States. again, we've had students that have gone internationally. They've done their internships in China and Romania and Israel. There's just a few I can think of off the top of my head right now. And so again, 20 months, fall, spring, first year, summer, and then fall, spring, your second year. We graduate early in April. That gives you a leg up on the students that graduate in May and June, so that you can get have that inside track for employment opportunities. You're applying for jobs, early during the spring semester of your second year, so that you can have that leg up on when you are applying for jobs and looking for permanent employment, whether it's here in the United States or back home or internationally as well. And so certainly we like that. We like that, and our students like that as well. It doesn't mean that you don't get a spring break, but you get that. Having a leg up on your career and being able to make money that much sooner is always important too. So yeah, that is hopefully a roundup. It looks like I got most of the Q&As. Thank you, Sanjay, for clearing that up, and Seed for clearing that up. Yeah.
CJ, I want to take, before we move on to taking more questions, I quickly want to run a couple of polls and got some audience interest in various areas that you have.
Please do, yes.
So to the audience on the screen right now, you'd be able to see a poll. It's just going to go live. The first question which I'm asking you is, when do you plan to enroll in a graduate program? A graduate program, by implication in the United States, means a master's program. Is that correct, CJ?
Yes, we are fall only AMET program. So right now we are accepting applications for fall of 2022 consideration next fall. Our portal opened on October 1st.
Okay, so you just went live with the application. And the first, can you please remind us, when is the first deadline?
January 15th is our first deadline.
15th. And people applying by the Jan 15 deadline also have an opportunity to be considered for a full scholarship.
A full tuition scholarship, that is correct. Yes. So yes, and the short answer is yes.
Okay, so great. So 15th Jan deadline, that's round one. That's the early application deadline. Full scholarships are the candidates applying to be considered for it. And if you are looking to enroll in a graduate program, which year would you be targeting? That's what I'm asking you on the screen right now. So I'm going to keep this question open for another 3 seconds. So if you haven't yet responded, please do so now. I can see around 85 responses come in. So if you're still looking to respond, you do have a couple of seconds. Please go ahead and respond. Okay, I am going to end this poll now. And yep, I do see around 26% of the audience targeting the fall 22 intake. So a good chunk looking at the very next intake. Then there's just some 37% looking at 2023, and then around 38% again looking at 2024 or later. So interesting.
Okay.
Now the
Very
next
cool.
question. Sorry. The next question. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that's great. That's great to see all that, all of that. So no,
there's some early planners, so some people planning for 2023, 24, but a fair chunk looking at the very next intake as well. The next question which I want to ask the audience, right, which is, what is the most important factor in determining the right graduate program for you? So which factor plays a role in your decision when you're looking at a program to apply to? Which factor has the most importance for you? Okay, and the responses are really quick for this one. Okay, I'm already close to 50 responses now on this one. And I mean, the responses are unexpected lines for me. As an Indian, I could have guessed what the majority of audience is going to talk about. And it's in line with that. I'm going to keep this poll open for another 10 seconds, and I'm going to show the results of this poll to the audience as well. So if you haven't yet responded, go ahead and do so right now. I'm going to keep this open for another 5 seconds now. All right, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to end this poll and share the results. So as expected for a majority of the audience, majority of the students over here, the driving factor in deciding the right graduate program are the career goals. So very interesting over there. And we didn't end up completing this conversation completely, but CJ, we were talking about the White House internship program and everything. And I'm sure a lot of our audience is a fan of House of Cards. I should tell it to them that your real policy making is nothing like it. So don't confuse, don't think of House of Cards as your driving factor. But there is an opportunity. There is an opportunity for the audience to potentially to maybe even an Indian in the audience to possibly do an internship at White House and open some career paths over there?
Oh, most assuredly. Yes, yes, yes. There are lots of different opportunities. Again, government internships and careers in government at the federal, state, local level, in DC, in your state capital, in here in Los Angeles. We've got alumni that work for state senators on environmental policy. We have alumni that work for state senators that represent where Malibu is located, Pepperdine is located. And yes, yeah, certainly, and again, we call it curriculum to careers for a reason. Our curriculum is preparing you for a wide variety of careers. Yes, government, yes, nonprofit, yes, for profit, because we really are truly a cross-sector leader program, because you can't just rely on the government to solve the challenges that we face today. You need community buy-in, you need investment in technology, you need the support. And so, certainly that our students are fair, again, about a third go into that direction, but they do also go to the private sector as well, and the nonprofit sector too, NGOs, working on their passions. And so our curriculum to careers, what we say is really preparing you. Our curriculum is preparing you for your career goals, and the resources and the services that we offer, whether it's Mentor Collective, whether it's our career office that is giving you the tools for you to deploy in the real field, in the real world, and to help to assist you in your searches is very important. We're very proud of our alumni network, and we're very proud of our students. They do great things, and our curriculum will certainly prepare you for what it means to be a policy practitioner. Because yeah, not so much house of cards, but it's still it's hard work. Generally, we have very passionate students, and they want to do great things, and we're here to support you.
Make a difference to the world. Policy does impact our daily lives. A lot of our audience is really young, so they may not really understand or realize this right now. But policies that get formulated, and there are people like Pepperdine's graduates who decide those policies that impact daily lives of millions of people as well. So, right,
sure.
Rates, government policies, health policy, healthcare, education policy. These people are really shaping the world as well. And
indeed.
And of course, so a lot of the audience may not realize this, and you usually see this once you start working in the corporate sector, once you're in jobs, you realize this. Most top companies, right, the big MNCs, the large corporations, do have a government relations and policy division, and there are influencers, there are lobbyists who work over there. If you know this, Facebook, and major companies, right, they're facing these government challenges, they have these government relations teams which really decide and help the company shape their policy and approaches to all these areas, and how to handle the various legislation, how to interact with the government, how to build those relationships, how to shape the policy that shapes their industry or impacts their industry. A lot of top corporates have these divisions, huge divisions over there, and really high-powered teams over here as well. These teams have really a lot of power in shaping the policy or approaches for the company as well. So it's not just government departments that are potential, but even private sector companies have great opportunities in the policy domain. On that note, I'm going to run one more poll, and this is the last poll which I'm going to launch. This is on the areas of policy which are possible at these are the areas of specialization at Pepperdine School of Public Policy. So in the Masters of Public Policy program, you have these potential areas of specialization. CJ, I understand up top, a smart candidate can potentially also specialize in 2 areas. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, if our students can pursue up to 2 specializations here at School of Public Policy, yes, that is absolutely correct. If you'll forgive me, I need to step out for 5 minutes. I apologize. I have a 6-year-old that needs to go to school, and I provide that transportation. So Kirsten is here as well for further questions, and I'll be right back as soon as I can. But do forgive me, but I do have to get my son to school. So give me 5 minutes. He's right here in our neighborhood, but I will have to step out for a second. I apologize.
No problem.
Thank you.
We'll be right here. So yeah, so to the audience, the poll is still live. If you're able to see it, we are asking you which area of policy are you most interested in. I'm guessing you don't understand all the terminology right now, but basically, if you look at what these are, American policy and politics is mainly about giving you an understanding on how the American government system works. So if you're looking to work at the state legislation or at the local or even the national policy level, then American policy and politics is the area to go at. If you're looking at international relations, national security, you want to work with organizations like FBI, the United Nations, the top organizations which are involved in shaping the global policy on various domains. Then international relations, national security is possibly an area to look at. If you want to design economic policy, looking at funding, budgeting, how money changes, shapes the various things in the world, and how that money can be better applied, then economic policies to be looking at. You're looking at public policy, dispute resolution as the other area, and state and local policies the other area as well. So I'm going to keep this open for another 3 seconds. A huge chunk of you have replied to this one already, but I'm going to give you another 3 seconds to respond, and then I'm going to show you the results as well. Okay. I see around 80 responses already, so I'm just going to keep it open for another 2-3 seconds. And I am going to end this poll now and share the results as well. So a lot of you seem to have interest in international relations. There are global bodies, right? There are bodies like the United Nations, World Bank, your global not-for-profits as well. So Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you got the Clinton Health Access Initiative. So a lot of international organizations, not-for-profits, which involve people in international relations, which involve people in policy making as well, analysis as well. And I see a lot of interest in the international relations and national security domain. Very interesting. To the audience, if you have more questions, you can keep using the chat. You can keep using the Q&A box, post your questions over there. I do see one question coming from Jerman, who's asking, would it be a good option to come back to India for work after graduating in public policy from Pepperdine? Okay. Kirsten, I'm going to take this up with you. Do MPP graduates look at international careers as well? Do some of your graduates go back to their home countries or some other countries and make a career in policy or government relations over there?
That's a great question. And a lot of students ask that. We commonly get that from international students. They come to our school and they sometimes want to stay in America and work domestically, of course, but there's always that, should I go back home or should I go back to my home country or work abroad for that matter, because they are of an international status. And really it's personal preference. So we leave that up to the student. If the student has a wonderful opportunity career-wise to return to their home country, they're welcome to do that. If they want to stay in the United States, they are also welcome to do that. It really depends. We have quite a few students that do choose to go back to their home country at first and then branch out. So again, it's really up to the student. We don't require them, of course, to stay in the United States. We love our alumni to stay close by so they can always come back to Pepperdine. We say welcome home all the time to our alumni when they come back virtually or on campus. So we leave it really up to the student. What do we advise? We advise for the student to secure a career where they are most happy, where it is a good professional fit for them. And we also advise our students when they do secure a job after graduation, we evaluate what they're going to be doing after this role. So taking advantage of looking at the larger career scope, what's going to be ahead. If you secure this position 3 years down the line, what does your career go look like 5 years down the line? Is this position entry level, mid-level, and how will that leverage to your next career position? So again, there's so many different factors to consider, and we really leave it up to the student. It is all personal preference, and we guide you through that process. When the moment you are a student at new student orientation, we discuss this, and we continue those conversations throughout your time in the program. And even after you graduate as an alum, we have active alums who reevaluate where they are, whether it's internationally or domestically. So it's really up to the student and it's up to the alum, and we support them through that entire process. Thank you. That's a great question.
Glad to hear that. Kirsten, one question which the audience would have, and especially this becomes true for international students and Indian students, where cost is always a factor and career opportunities is always a consideration in the decision making. So we know that some of them, so when they apply, they have a chance to be considered for full scholarships as well. So that is a potential as well. But in case they don't, right, then what are the funding options or how can they fund their education? Are there some university grants? Are there endowments that they're eligible for? Or are there other sources of funding that they can look at besides the scholarship?
That's also a very common question that is asked. You know, thankfully, we have a very robust scholarship endowment for our students. At least 90% on average of our students receive some form of scholarship. Scholarship is not based on need, it's based on merit. So as CJ mentioned in his discussion, we like to see the recommendation letters. We like to see the, the transcripts, what the students have been involved in. And of course, we look at the resume, and they don't need to have a lot of work experience, but the resume tells a very unique story of what the student has been interested in inside the classroom, outside the classroom, volunteerism, community engagement. So it's a very holistic approach to the scholarship that is awarded to the student based on merit. They evaluate all aspects of everything. So let's say the student doesn't receive a large scholarship award or any scholarship award. We have a financial aid advisor who works with the student and works with them so that they can, have some advising assistance through the process if they do need to take a loan of any kind. We also have on our website, under our financial aid section through admissions, a host of outside external scholarship opportunities that the students can secure. And again, we do have a financial aid advisor that helps the student through that process and will guide them and support them through how that affects their student account and just through the inner workings of our systems. So they aren't just kind of left alone to, how do I deal with this type of a thing? So yes, but the good news is that most of our students do secure some type of scholarship support, and we love to see that.
90% is a really high percentage. So almost 90, if I get this correct, 90% of the cohort has got some funding from the universities, maybe an endowment, maybe a merit scholarship, but 90% of the students do get some funding support from the university.
They do. 90% of our students on average receive some type of financial support through scholarship. Again, it's quite simple through the application. It's just a basic question on the initial application. Do you want scholarship? And we encourage the student to say yes. And from there, after the application is 100% complete, it goes to the admissions committee for evaluation. If the student is accepted, then it goes to a different committee, the scholarship committee. The scholarship committee is completely separate from the admissions committee, of course, and that scholarship committee evaluates the entire application holistically and then determines an outcome for award. And then the student is notified.
Very interesting. And Kirsten, I'm going to follow on that question with one thing. So a lot of the audience in today's session are undergraduate students. They're still pursuing their bachelor's education in India, and they may want to come in for a master's program directly post their undergraduate education. So they would come without any work ex. So if they're coming without any work ex, what can they do now when they're in undergraduate education? What can they do now to build up their profile or keep up their profile to secure an admission in the program firstly, and possibly secure a scholarship as well? So can they participate in certain societies, certain not for, can they participate in certain extracurricular activities, volunteer somewhere, and build a profile that way?
That's a great question. As students in an undergraduate program, students are often very consumed with their school, concentrating on their studies. And we understand that, we recognize that. And we appreciate that because we know that that is a very tough job being a full-time student. So even if a student has, part-time work or some involvement in their community, that's great. Anything that they can indicate on their resume is wonderful. But let's say, for example, a student may not have a great opportunity to do a lot of work prior to applying, or to do a lot of community involvement, or, different, certificate programs, again, or memberships. It's not needed. I think where a student can really shine is through the personal statement. So the personal statement is a piece of creative paper, creative expression, excuse me, that the student can provide in the application. That is their, forgive the expression, their American Idol moment, right? This is where they can shine through and really have that opportunity to let themselves and their interest in the school and interest in policy be communicated and expressed on paper to the admissions committee. So that is their time to shine. They have an entire paper to say why and how they deserve this scholarship or this admittance into the program. And the same with the moral and ethical dilemma. It gives the admissions committee and the scholarship committee a view into this person, and they get to know them in those ways. So I always encourage students to take the time and invest in those two opportunities, because it is from the student directly to express those things.
Interesting. So in simple words for the Indian audience, the statement of purpose, as it's commonly called in India, that becomes very critical. Kristen, a question, and CJ, a question over here. As part of the admission requirements, do you require the applicant to submit any test scores? So is a GRE score required or any other test score required as part of the application?
Sure, that's a great question as well, and thank you, Kirsten, and everyone's patience while I had to step out for a moment. Test scores are optional. So once again, for fall of 2022 enrollment, we have decided, because of the pandemic and just because of all the challenges that we all face right now, test scores remain optional. So what does that mean? No, test scores are not required. If you wanted to take the test, we traditionally accept any one of three, the GRE, the GMAT, that's mostly for business schools, I know, but we do take it, or the LSAT, which is what mostly law school students take. So yes, they're optional. If you do want to take them and you want your scores considered as part of the application process, yes, but there is no penalty, there is no penalization that's occurring for students that do not submit scores. We are not holding that against students. That's not required. They are optional. So if a student wants to submits them because they might have exceptional scores in high areas and they want that to be part of their holistic application, then yes, they can submit, but no requirement, and there's no penalizations, and it is not held against a student that does not submit test scores for fall of 2022. So we're real excited to announce that.
Great opportunity for the students as well. They can potentially apply without a test score. So if you're looking to submit a test score, the GRE, GMAT, and LSAT are your options. In case you don't have any of those scores, you can still apply, make a great application, make a great statement of purpose as such, talk about the ethical dilemma in your application, moral and ethical dilemma in your application, make a great application and still hope to get selected. There's a question, do the students need to submit the IELTS or the TOEFL score? Or even that's, because majority of the audience in India would do their undergraduate education in English. The mode of teaching and examination would be in English. Do they still need to submit an IELTS or a TOEFL score?
Yeah, I mean, if English, if you were if you were instructed in English and English is part of either an official language or spoken all instruction was done in English, you would email SPP admissions and ask for a waiver of that, and that's something that we would review and could take care of for you. Yes, so we do those ad hoc one-on-one type requests, but yes, we could certainly we certainly do that. So yes.
All right. And in fact, a majority of universities in India mention it on the transcripts itself that the mode of instruction and examination was English. So if you have mark sheets or transcripts mentioning those, you can potentially write in and ask for a waiver.
Exactly. And we'll easily take care of that for you. That's easy.
Oh, great. CJ, before we take on more questions from the audience, I know we are slightly over time, but I want to keep this open for another few minutes. I want to gauge from the audience, which societies in India in their undergraduate education get involved in. So Now I'm asking this and talking to the audience directly over here. So if you are involved with organizations like NACTIS or Rotaract or even ISEC, right? Or you have done volunteer work with organizations like Teach for India or Akanksha, right? A lot of those students in India tend to be involved in those. So if you're involved with any such society, just post in the chat box the name of that society. So just for us to know which society you're involved in, just post in the chat box the society that you're involved in, and we'll want to see where you have been most active. Okay, I see Ishita from ISEC. Okay, and I see Anushri. Okay, I can't see the complete name, but okay. Anushka from Enactus. Okay, Keshav is involved with Numero. Okay, I didn't know of this one. Naira is involved in Rotaract and Enactus. All right. Okay. Anyone else who's volunteering or working with any of the student-run societies or clubs that you're part of? Okay, so Numero. Okay, Govindro, both are from Numero. Manas is from Numero as well. Oh, I didn't know of this one. I should look this one up. Very interesting. But okay, quite a few people getting active in the societies as well. And you're possibly, these make great stories as well. So if you have been active in any of the student clubs and you've contributed to either done a project, impact related project, or volunteered somewhere. Okay, I see Rishita, who's been active with the NSS, which is the National Social Service Organization of in India, and the Ashwin Foundation. So she's been active with some societies as well. So if you have been active with any of these, this is great. I mean, they make great stories in the application. You can really talk about what you have done and really impress the admissions panel with your contribution to these societies. So great, thanks for sharing that. CJ, Kirsten, I don't see any further audience question coming in. I still want to give the audience a minute to ask any additional questions that they may have for you. This is a very interesting topic we are engaging on, and something very we have really not done topics related to public policy in the past, and the audience interest is really high. I still see around 250 people in the audience, so that's really high intent and interest over there. So if you have really good, Govind, you're correct, it seems to be a really good club. I would surely check out Numero as well. But audience, if you still have more questions for CJ or person, post them in the Q&A box. Now I'm going to give you another 30 seconds to post your question. If not, we're going to wrap up this session and talk about some parting advice as well.
Good deal. And just I did see somewhere in the Q&A or in the chat, someone asked if we were a private or a public university. Pepperdine is a private university, so we are not a public institution as far as the state of California or something like that. So we are a private, non-for-profit institution. And just while we're wrapping this up, I wanted to read another list of just some of the areas that students have either interned or are employed at as far as organizations. So research and think tanks, the American Enterprise, Black Institute, Cato, Center for Islam and Religious Freedom, Heritage, Hoover, International Institute for Counterterrorism, government organizations, City of Los Angeles, National Right to Work, Office of the Governor of New Hampshire, County of Los Angeles Supervisor, United Nations Children's Fund, U.S. Defense Department, U.S. Homeland Security, U.S. Department of State, the White House Internship Program, as we talked about, private sector, Commonwealth Councils, Consulting, Duke Energy, the Los Angeles Lakers, again, policy will take you a lot of different places. Sports policy is a big one. We've got another alumni that's working down in San Diego for one of the professional sports teams in San Diego, the Padres, I believe, if you're familiar with American baseball. Policy Consulting Associates, the polling company, Roche Pharmaceuticals, Sempra Energy, Smart Development, the nonprofits, Cambodian Center for Human Rights, Freedom House, LA Economic Development Corporation, LA World Airports, National Resources Defense Council, National Review, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the World Trade Center of Los Angeles, bipartisan policy centers, Hoover, again, Manhattan, Milken, in the private sector, again, Accenture, Anthem, Booz Allen, we talked about Lionsgate, and the nonprofit as well. So, certainly we've got alumni op-eds, we've got alumni spotlights on our website, where you can learn more about what our alumni are doing in the real world, and really, again, putting our curriculum to work in their career for their success. So just wanted to kind of, again, touch base on that. I know that's important, and looking at the poll questions before I had to step out for a moment. I know that career options, career trajectories, and paths are very important. So really,
I think really great diversity and great opportunities. So yeah, Los Angeles Lakers. So those of you who don't know this, they are amongst the top basketball teams in the US, and yeah, very popular. And I'm sure for sports fan, a dream career path. You know, get to work with the Lakers is a really dream career path for sports fanatics. So really
indeed.
great, really great opportunities over there. And you know, some of these are really prestigious, right? President Hoover
Yes.
instituted the Hoover Institution, so really famous over there. And then yeah, United Nations Children's Fund, a lot of big brands and big organizations which possibly have presence around the world as well. So really strong names over there as well. So
Yeah.
great. CJ, I know we are over time. I want to wrap up this session at this point.
Sure.
I don't
Thank
see
you.
more questions coming in from the audience. So I think we've
Great.
clarified all the doubts that the audience had. And thank you. Okay. So thank you, CJ. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you for taking out the time to do this session. It's been extremely insightful, and you've possibly opened up the audience's mind about career tracks in a different domain. You know, as in India, we are very used to looking at engineering or medicine or MBA as a career path, but you know, this possibly gives them the opportunity or tells them the potential opportunities in the public policy space and how they can shape the country, shape the world through their work in policy space. And again, they do have options to pursue an MBA as well. So there are MPP plus MBA programs, there are MPP plus Juris Doctor Law programs as well. So various 12-degree program options. But this gives them the audience an opportunity to understand about paths in public policy, which is very unique, very different. And thank you again for doing this session, and thank you for taking out the time. It's been wonderful having you all here.
Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you, Sid, and thank you to all of our participants. We were so excited to come to you this evening for you guys and share a little bit about the School of Public Policy and Malibu and opportunities in public policy, career opportunities. And so we hope to hear from you soon. And again, we cannot thank you enough for your time and coming to learn more about SPP at Pepperdine. So you have a great evening, everybody. Take care. Thank you very much, and thank you, Kirsten, as well. I appreciate it, and we appreciate you, and hope you have a great evening.
Great. Thanks, CJ. Thanks, Kirsten.
Thanks.
You both have a great day.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.